Ladies and gentlemen, it is officially day number 26 of the ongoing government shutdown, and I'll tell you what, things just took a pretty big turn for the worse for the Democrats. You see, what might come as a surprise to some of you, there are actually right around 40 million Americans in this country that receive federally funded food assistance called SNAP every single month. Now, because of this ongoing government shutdown, which has been entirely manufactured by Chuck Schumer and the Democrats, by the way, all of that federal food assistance is about to go bye-bye come November 1st. So what that means is that unless this Democrat-manufactured government shutdown comes to an end pretty much immediately, we're going to see around 40 million Americans have their food assistance entirely cut off. And oh yeah, something worth mentioning real quick here. Around 79% of those federal food assistance recipients are Democrats. So what that means is that almost 32 million Democrat voters are about to lose their federally funded food assistance, all because Chuck Schumer and the Democrat establishment decided to manufacture a completely unnecessary government shutdown. So yeah, like I said, this entire situation is pretty much doomsday for the progressive left. But you know what? For some more information on this, take a listen to what White House Press Secretary Carolyn Leavitt had to say just the other day.
The unnecessary pain, unfortunately, does not end there. Funding for the Supplemental Nutrition Assistance Program known as SNAP, which provides food benefits to low-income families, is beginning to lapse this week in some states. If Democrats continue to hold Americans hostage, there will not be enough funds to provide SNAP benefits for more than 40 million Americans on November 1st. That is next week. Democrats are solely responsible for all of this unnecessary pain. Why are they doing it? To give taxpayer-funded health care benefits to illegal aliens, some of whom are violent criminals.
And so, as you all know, not only is she absolutely right, but in fact, things are actually even worse than that. Unfortunately for the Democrats, politically moderate Americans across the country have been forced to come to the realization that the Democrat Party has chosen to support illegal aliens instead of actual Americans. And if you don't believe me, take a listen to what CNN recently had to say about all of this. Folks, even they can't deny reality anymore.
In 2018/2019, Donald Trump's net approval rating was already falling. The shutdown was eating into his popular support. It was down 3 points already at this particular point and would fall considerably more. It was very much on the decline. You come over to this side of the screen, this shutdown hasn't eaten into Donald Trump's support at all. His net approval rating is actually up a point in terms of his popular support. So the bottom line is this. The first shutdown during Trump's first term, 2018-2019, was hurting Donald Trump. This one is not hurting him at all. There's no real reason Donald Trump might say, at least when it comes to popular support, I want to get out of this shutdown.
What about the question of blame?
Yeah, okay. What about the question of blame? Okay, you see here, you see Donald Trump's net approval rating was down 2018 to 2019. You talk about 2025 as net approval rating is up. It comes down to the blame game, a game I loved to play when I was younger. Blame Trump for the shutdown a great deal. In 2018/2019, 61%, more than 3 in 5 Americans blame Trump a great deal for that particular shutdown. You come over to this side of the screen, look at this. It's a different world. It's a different world. 48% of Americans blame Trump a great deal for this particular shutdown. So it's more than 3 in 5 back in 2018/2019. It's less than half, a drop of 13 points. Again, it's no real wonder that Donald Trump at this point, looking at the shutdown, says, you know what, it's not actually harming me politically, in large part because he's getting less of the blame.
So folks, like I said, even CNN, with all of their anti-Trump bias, can't deny the harsh reality of this entire situation. But now, folks, I want you all to take a listen to what Vice President J.D. Vance recently had to say about all of this. But first, I do want to say real quick that if you folks enjoy the daily news updates, please consider subscribing to the channel because it really does help a lot. But okay, take a listen to this.
We're in this position because Senate Democrats decided that they were going to shut down the government despite the fact that the House voted to keep the government open. And I have to be honest, Tony, it's actually not all Senate Democrats. To their great credit, a number of moderate Democrats voted with Republicans to keep the government open last night. Unfortunately, it was one faction of one branch of government, the far left faction of the Senate Democrats, who decided to shut down the people's government. And to your point about what's going to happen now, there are critical essential services that that the people rely on that are going to suffer because of this. There are people who benefit from low-income food programs, families like mine who benefited from those programs, who are going to see those programs disappear. There are people, of course, who are flying today should know that if their flight is delayed, I hope it's not, but it may have something to do with the fact that our TSA agents and our air traffic controllers are no longer getting paid.
And so, folks, like JD Vance just said, not only are 40 million Americans nationwide about to lose their federally funded food assistance, but on top of that, right this very moment, we have tens of thousands of essential federal employees currently working without pay. But now, let's talk about where the Trump administration really stands regarding this entire Democrat shutdown. So on that note, take a listen to what Treasury Secretary Scott Bessent had to say just earlier this morning.
Today is day 26. I know you have been over there, but there has been a government shutdown here. People are suffering. Federal employees are starting to go to food banks. Any light at the end of the tunnel on that? Should the president be meeting with Democrats again?
Well, what good does it do, Martha? They've dug in. The American people are hostage to Chuck Schumer and Hakeem Jeffries' poll numbers, because what's changed between now and the last time there was a clean continuing resolution is Chuck Schumer has tanked in the polls. Both of the two guys from Brooklyn, like I call them, are worried about being primaried from the left. 52 Republican senators have voted 11 times to reopen the government. 3 brave, moderate Democrats have come across the aisle. So, I call on moderate Democratic senators to end this craziness. You'll be heroes. Because, Martha, what I can tell you is we managed to find the money in the middle of October to pay our brave service members. And I think we'll be able to do it on November 1st. But we're going to be out of money on November 15th. And, for a military not to get paid is a disgrace. The other thing that's happening is this is starting to eat into the economy, starting to slow the economy. And we're also starting to see there's a problem with air traffic control. So it's starting to slow down our nation's travel.
But Secretary Bessent, I should add that the president's party, your party, controls the White House and both chambers of Congress. You don't think you bear any responsibility for this?
Margaret, what can we do? What can we do for this desperate act that we can call on them to change their minds? Because I can tell you, the 1.5 trillion in spending that they're calling for, that's not on the table. We inherited a mess. We inherited the worst budget deficit to GDP when we weren't in a recession and we weren't at war. It was 6.4, 6.5%. We've managed to bring that down to 5.9%, and we're not going to let them be irresponsible with the budget again.
And so, folks, here's really the big takeaway. The Trump administration is just not going to be extorted into paying for the health care of millions of illegal aliens. That is just not going to happen, regardless of how much the Democrats scream and shout. And so once again, here's what's about to happen unless the Democrats decide to vote alongside the Senate Republicans to officially end this shutdown. 32 million Democrat voters are about to lose their federally funded food assistance right before holiday season, and as we all just saw, the majority of this country knows exactly who to blame: the Democrats. So folks, like I said earlier, this entire situation has pretty much turned into complete and total doomsday for Chuck Schumer and the Democrats. However, over here on the right, we can all be happy that President Trump is actually putting America first.